The cat's tongue brush, quite possibly the strangest name for a paintbrush on the face of the planet. However, it is one of the most underrated brushes out there, and I'm going to prove to you why. All the while giving you some really cool practice exercises that can easily double as real artwork you can be super proud of. Now that's a creative win-win. And honestly, if you don't have a cat's tongue brush yet, don't fret. You can do these exercise/projects with any brush you're looking to get more familiar with. Supplies today are straight up scrap paper, friends. Use what you have, use what you love. My Art for Joy's Sake palette, and yeah, the cat's tongue brush. Friends, this isn't the first time I've done a cat's tongue brush video. I have 2 more. I'm gonna link them below. Super fun, but this one's got an edge, so stick around. Go ahead and spray down that palette, and you're also gonna spray down your first scrap paper and then blot it a little bit. You don't want puddles, but you also want it wet enough that it's gonna spread the color when it touches. Load up your favorite color. Make sure those wells of watercolor are nice and juicy, syrupy. And don't be startled, every color that we lay down onto the wet page, it's going to bleed immediately, but that's the point here, friends. And we're gonna do simple serpentine lines. So a press, curved drag, and lift. And you're gonna have about a 50% paint on the brush. And then of course you can add more paint and make it darker like I did just here. And then go from the serpentine into a curved where you press and then lift to a point. Press, lift quickly to a point. Press, curved, lift quickly to a point. And really it's important to lift quickly. The quicker you lift, you're gonna get that point. And this is specific to the cat's tongue. With other brushes, you lift slower to come to a point. With a cat's tongue, you wanna lift quickly. And you just keep going, my friends. And look at the glorious, just take a moment and soak in the gloriousness that is this juicy brush on the damp page and the cat's tongueness of the gloriousness. I am like waxing poetic because I'm in love with these strokes. Let your paintbrush run out of color. Go dry brush. Go rogue here, friends. Just fill this ill-shapen scrap page of watercolor. You are redeeming this lowly scrap of watercolor paper with your glorious strokes. I'm telling you what. Are you as excited as I am right now about what's happening on the paper, and are you going to give it a try? Let me know in comments. Go ahead. All right, I am just mixing it up here with the greens. I'm going monochromatic because it just feels good. And the other reason I'm going monochromatic is this. Remember in the beginning, I mentioned that this is an exercise. It's a drill, essentially, but it's done in a way that's gonna produce actual artwork. You're producing a pattern. And even though I'm working on a scrap piece of paper that is completely weirdo shaped, it doesn't matter. I can cut it and square it off and turn it into little bookmarks and different things. It doesn't matter. It is actually a beautiful finished pattern to come. And that's what I love about it. So the monochromaticness of my color choices is for a reason. And just keep going. If you feel you need to re-wet the paper, if it's not wet enough and you're not getting that nice diffused look like you see on my paper, just go ahead and re-wet an area and then pat it down a little bit with paper towels so that it's not, puddly, and just keep going. And look what happens in the bottom right, friends, when you let that brush run out of color on a damp page. So good. I talk a lot about a certain technique, wet on dry specifically, and all the iterations of wet on dry, including wet on damp, in a really important video. I'm going to link it below. Let's put that one to the side and try another. And you guessed it, just a really ill-shapen scrap piece of paper. But friends, I'm a creative free spirit and I am good with it. Let's move on. All right, you're gonna dampen that page again and blot it down so it's not puddly, and yeah, pick another color that is your favorite. Now I am going to go into the warmer color family, so I'm making sure that brush is rinsed really well because I don't want muddy, warm colors. I'm going with the red. See, I'm gonna clean out my watercolor well there just a little bit, and I'm gonna clean my mixing area as well because I want vibrancy. I want that warm, vibrant boldness that I know my palette has to offer me. With our last exercise, we were using all surfaces of the brush, the belly, the side, the tip. So with this exercise, we're really focusing on the tip of the brush by holding our brush perpendicular to the page. So you're basically forming a T between your desk or your paper paper surface and your brush. Grab your favorite color. I'm going with the warm colors this time. You're gonna make a circle, and it's basically a swirly circle. So a big round shape, it doesn't have to be perfect, and then just swirl the tip of that brush right into the middle. And just repeat with different size swirly circles in different colors, and let the colors bump up next to one another. This is actually a way that I like to swatch colors. If you want to know more about how I swatch colors differently, I'm going to link a few videos below. And again, because I'm going monochromatic with the color palette, that really unifies these simple shapes and actually makes the composition more interesting. And you guessed it, you are creating an actual pattern, which makes this feel less like an exercise, less like a drill, and more like an actual piece of art. And that's what makes it so incredibly satisfying, because you're learning and honing your skills all the while creating art you can be really proud of quickly. Moving on to yet another piece, and this scrap actually looks pretty good. Gonna wet down that surface and blot off some of the excess. I'm literally just using my hand here. It works. This particular drill or exercise, again, we're gonna be using the whole surface of the brush. Sometimes we're gonna be using the belly, the widest part, sometimes the tip, and sometimes the side. This one's really satisfying, as they all are, because again, we're working into a damp surface. You could try all of these though on a dry surface and see how they differ and see how they feel differently. They're gonna be a lot bolder. I'll be curious, are any of you gonna try all of these exercises on the damp surface and then on the dry surface? Let me know in comments. All right, we are just adding warm colors, and it's just a stroke. It's a downstroke on the slant, and you're laying them down next to each other. Let the paint run out in some areas. Use a more loaded brush in other areas. Make some of these lines really short and staccato. Make some of the lines longer and skinnier. But the point is just to fill this page with colorful texture. Now you'll notice I'm bringing in some blues. They're more muddier blues, just to kind of create a more interesting kind of toned down look overall. Some brighter pinks. Oh, I just love, it almost looks like rain or like a stormy, turbulent sky, right? But again, it's not just exercise, it's actually a pattern, and you are doing it. But can we also then take a moment to just admire the cat's tongue brush? I mean, it has such variety, and I haven't even shown you how to create the thin lines that you can get out of a cat's tongue brush. That's for another video. But seriously, the thick lines, the controlled lines, the simple like one stroke type of marks that you can make, so incredibly useful, versatile, and easily and quickly satisfying, especially for a beginner. This brush is golden. Really, really, really want you to let your brush run out of the color at some point or at many points in this composition, because it gives you such glorious texture, such soft texture on the damp paper. Just mwah, chef's kiss. Some of the colors in my palette are more opaque and some are more sheer, and that creates for a really lovely kind of contrast already curated for you. It's one of the many reasons I love my palette. It was designed this way specifically so you could enjoy all the different personalities that watercolor has to offer. All right, friends, moving on. Now you could continue on this piece forever and ever, amen. You could keep layering, let the layers dry in between, but let's move on to a fourth and final pattern. And again, dampen your page. I'm gonna go to the green color palette this time, just really bright, springy, lively greens. And the marks that I'm gonna make, again, mostly using the tip, like that circle exercise we did earlier on, and a little bit of the belly of the brush. And we're gonna make leafy marks. Let me show you. So back to those serpentine marks with your first green of choice, and just layer them together, layer, 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 and quickly bring in some other greens, and then start to create a leafy shape. Stroke, stroke, stroke on one side of an invisible center, and then more strokes on the other side of that invisible center. And you'll see this start to appear, and it'll start to make more sense as I get a few more strokes in. You're gonna wanna watch this through first before painting along with me. But see those curved strokes that are hugging an invisible line going down the center of a leaf? That is what we're after. And they're all kind of going in a same angled direction. There you go. Really coming to life. A stroke, stroke, stroke on either side of an invisible center. So the center of your abstract leaf is going to be white. But again, remember you're working on a damp surface, so the color is going to slowly diffuse and slowly fill in some of those white areas. Each time you go back to your palette to reload your brush, go ahead and pick up a different version of green. Go ahead and re-wet those mixing areas from your last painting session and use up that paint. It's a wonderful time to just be willy-nilly, loosey-goosey, free spirit with your color choices. For me, my only rule here is I'm sticking to the green family. These strokes are descending in size as you go to the tip of the leaf, so they're the longest when I start and the shortest when I finish. And again, so satisfying. You're seeing this actual art pattern reveal itself right before your eyes. All the while, you are just bossing it all over this new brush and learning all the skills it has to teach you. It's like a double whammy in such a good way. All right, friends, let me know which pattern is your favorite. Is it the first one with the serpentine shapes? Is it the circles? Is it the straight angled diagonal lines, or is it the leafy pattern? I'm having a hard time deciding. It's probably for me the straight diagonals, but head into comments and let us know. Now you're ready. Now you are ready, friends. Let's go ahead and paint a dahlia only using this cat's tongue brush. Are you ready for some more happy painting? Let's get to it.